Welcome back to the show, everyone. This is your host, Larry Lou. Appreciate you being back, coming back, returning. This is T3, Transformation Through Truth. And we are going to, again, talk about how to become better today than we were yesterday. This is what we do on this show. We heal. We heal, we heal, we heal. So today, we're going to talk about emotions. We've been on this ride with the emotions, and I think it's very important to talk about, again, your feelings are not facts. Emotional reasoning is not about facts. It is about what you feel is true and not what is true. So we're going to kind of continue on that track. And today, I want to start off by telling you just a little story. One day I came home and I was dressed up, and when I came home or got into the house, the wife greeted me, hey, what's going on? How was your day? Whatever. And she noticed that I had lipstick on my collar. So before I finish that story, let me tell you another story. But I want you to remember that part. Coming from work, dressed up, lipstick on my collar. Okay, so remember that. But I want you to also take note of this story. I don't know if you ever heard it before. It's called The Fisherman and the Genie, where one day this fisherman goes out to do his daily work. This was his job, to catch fish. He casts his net, and one time he casts it, he brings up this jar. And so, hoping that maybe it was something special, like money, gold, silver, whatever, in the jar, he opens it. But when he opens it, a genie pops out. Now, the genie, as we all know the story goes, is supposed to grant someone 3 wishes. But this genie decided that he was going to kill the fisherman. And the genie, his reasoning for killing or wanting to kill the fisherman was this. See, the genie had a desire to be released at a certain time. And when that time didn't happen, instead of him granting someone 3 wishes, his rage and his anger caused him to want to kill. His rage and his anger causing him to want to murder. His rage and his anger caused him to want to mentally destroy. And this is all of the things that anger can do. By not getting what the genie felt he deserved at the desired time, he felt it should happen. The desire to grant wishes turned into the desire to kill this fisherman. But the fisherman, being a little wise, being smart and intelligent, attacked the genie's arrogance. Again, the genie didn't know who this fisherman was, the powers that he may have possessed. He don't know what this fisherman got going on. He assumed that the fisherman was beneath him and that he can do whatever he wanted. But the fisherman told him, there's no way that you came out of this jar. You too big to have come out of this jar. Again, the genie being arrogant, I'm gonna show you, goes, makes his size go back into that jar, that small jar. And when he goes back into that jar, the fisherman covers it and locks the genie back in there. And now the genie's trapped. And the fisherman says, well, I'll let you out, but you have to promise not to kill me, and you have to give me 3 wishes. So the fisherman outsmarted the genie. Now, I want to explain something to you. The ego is a lot like that genie. Full of pride, anger, and arrogance. Now, the ego is neither good nor evil. It's neither right or wrong. The ego is just is. Its job, from its standpoint, is to protect you. No matter how that may look, its job is to protect you. So whenever the ego rears its head, its thought is, I'm protecting us. Now, it doesn't always benefit us, but the ego doesn't understand or recognizes that it does what it does automatically, naturally, with the mindset of, I am protecting us. This is why the ego steps in and says, oh, no, we can't do that. It's too risky. It's too scary. It's too much uncertainty. If you quit your job to go pursue a dream, who gonna pay these bills? The ego has a point. Who gonna pay these bills? How the bills gonna get paid? Where we gonna stay? How we gonna pay our car note? It's all these things that come up. Not saying that they're not important, but again, just saying that this is what the ego is thinking about. The ego doesn't work off of faith. The ego works off of certainty, because certainty makes it feel comfortable. So again, the ego is a lot like that genie, full of pride, full of anger, and full of arrogance. Neither good nor bad, neither right or wrong. But if one is not strong enough to integrate his or her emotions, one becomes unhealthy. Okay, if you're not strong enough to integrate your emotions, one becomes unhealthy, because your emotions, without you being conscious of them, runs amok. They run you. They are not tamed. The only way to tame emotions is to be conscious of them. If you're not conscious of your emotions, then they run wild. So, if we go back to the genie being disillusioned and blinded by his emotions, winds up in a situation, or in its case, back in the same situation that it did not want to be in, back in that jar. All because he was blinded by his emotions. Okay? So that's the story of the fisherman and the genie, and I hope you can see the message in that. So let's go a little bit deeper. Again, emotions, they blind us. They make us disillusioned. So keep that in mind. I was watching something one day, and it was about this girl supposedly being an influencer. And she would go and, she would record herself and about her daily day coming home, and she would be in these, this big mansion and big old house, swimming pool, and she by the pool and drinking her drink and this, doing what she do. And she would just record herself eating and talking, what influencers do or whatever. But she controlled what everyone's seen or what everyone was seeing. And so my point to the story is this. Our emotions, your emotions, deceive you by controlling what it is that you see and or feel. And as a result, it shapes the conclusions that we draw. The same as this young lady. She controlled the environment. She controlled what these people seen. So the people thought she was this rich, millionaire, billionaire, young high school girl, living the life, driving these fancy cars, living in this big house. When the reality was she was a realtor and she had access to all these houses that she was trying to sell. But while they were empty, she would go into those houses and record, making everyone think that these houses was hers. Again, she controlled what people seen. She controlled what people saw, and as a result, shaped the conclusions that people drew. This is how our emotions work. They deceive us by controlling what we see and or feel, and as a result, shape the conclusions that we draw. So now, here it is again. I come home, lipstick is on my collar. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I might have had some lipstick on my face. So what you gonna do? Your man come home saying he was at work and he got lipstick all over him. Oh, what you been messing with? Who you been? You need to go back to that if that's what you want. You know what that is? So let me just say this. When our emotions are high, let me say this first. When our emotions are high, there are a lot of things that are displayed. We're going to talk about two: mind reading and foretelling. So again, lipstick all over me. If a person is going to mind read, then what are they doing? Well, jump to conclusion about another person's thoughts, feeling, and or judgment. Now let me repeat that. Mind reading is when a person jumps to conclusion about another person's thoughts, feelings, and or judgments. Oh, you must have been out with some, you ain't go to work. Y'all follow me? This happens all the time. People jump into conclusions about what's in another person's head, about what another person is thinking. It happens all the time. Mind reading. All because our emotions have blinded us. Our emotions have made us delusional to the point where all we see or all we know is what we feel. And that's it. Nothing else matters. And I told you two things. That's mind reading. And you have something called fortune telling, where people seem like they know what's going to happen in the future. So foretelling is basically believing that things will go wrong before they even happen. But my favorite part of the definition is this part, is where people won't even try to talk it out, to have a discussion, to ask someone what happened, because they automatically believe that the situation is going to end up bad. And this is just people's way of trying to avoid pain. When again, you've heard me say it a million times on this podcast. Pain is a part of life. You can't run from it. It's either going to catch you now, it's going to catch you later. So that's what a lot of people do, however, to try to avoid pain. I'm not, I don't even want to talk about it. You can just get your stuff and get out. I ain't no dummy. Nobody called you a dummy. You think I'm a fool. Nobody said that you were a fool. Nobody said anything because you didn't give me or them a chance. Because in your mind, you got all the answers. You know everything that went down, all because of what you seen and then what you felt. You got everything figured out. Yeah, fortune telling, mind reading. Nobody needs to say anything. The funny thing about assuming is that you eliminate the need to communicate. Because when you assume that you know the answer. That's why it's always good to ask questions. If nothing else, get another person's perspective, which leads me to my last point. Lipstick on my face, on my collar. You know what it was from? Somebody had a party, going away party. Somebody was leaving the job and they had a party for. So it's a lot of people, hugs, people hug goodbye and, make sure you keep in touch and we need to do lunch or we gonna, what people say, whatever. But there's a lot of hugging and, I'm gonna miss you and, I wish you well. I wish you the best. And some lipstick must have got on me. And maybe somebody did kiss me on my cheek. But that's just what it was. That's another fact about the situation. Wasn't out sleeping with some other chick. Wasn't taking some girl to dinner. There was a work party for an employee who was leaving. A man can't help that y'all wear all this makeup and it may get on his clothes. He can't help that. So it leads us to this, because what I'm saying doesn't necessarily have to be believed. Now, fortunately, my wife trusts me. Whether she should or she shouldn't is irrelevant. If we talking about trust, that's the whole reason that a person has to trust someone, because there is uncertainty. Virtue. Trust is a virtue. As you remember, I talked about how love is also a virtue. You talk about agape love, it is love with the absence of feeling. Trust. I'm trusting you even though I feel like maybe I shouldn't, even though I feel insecure or doubt what you may be saying. I have to trust you. If I'm not going to buy into that emotion, because if I buy into the emotion of insecurity, then I'm going to blame you for all types of things. I'm going to accuse you of doing something that might not necessarily be true. So to combat that, I'm going to trust what it is that you're saying. Now that's just one phase of trust. Here's something that a lot of people don't talk about when you talk about trust. So now, if you're in a situation where you have, again, two different stories, don't know what to believe, you have your facts, they have their facts, but the facts are not aligning according to you in your head, and you don't want to trust the individual, then what you need to do is trust in the fact that you have a limited perspective on truth. Let me say that one more time. You have to trust that your perspective is limited. You have to trust that your own perspective is limited. So I'm going to tell you one more story that will hopefully bring some light to what it is that I'm saying. So there's another fable called The Elephant and the 5 Blind Men. So there's this elephant, and then there's these 5 blind men. One of them, one blind man feels the side of the elephant and says that, oh, this is a wall. Another blind man feels the tail of the elephant and says, oh, this is a rope. Another feels the ear and says, oh, it must be a fan. The other one, or another one, feels the trunk and says it must be a snake. And then the last one feels the tusk and said that it's a spear. Okay, so you have 6 different people saying 6 different things, but they are all true, at least in their mind. At least in their mind, because they're only feeling part of the elephant. They're only feeling part of the elephant. So to them, in their mind, their truth is what it is, but it's limited because they don't have the whole story. They have not put all of their truths together to form the ultimate truth, which is that trunk, that the side, the knee, all that comes together, and what you have is an elephant. So your truth by itself is limited. Our truth by itself is limited. We need sometimes, because I know a lot of times people be on some BS. We know this. But see it through. Don't be scared of the pain. See it through. Pain is not there. Pain does not enter our lives to bury us. Pain does not enter our lives to break us. So pain is not meant to bury us. It's not meant to bury you. It's there to better you. That's what pain is for. So you don't have to run from it. So see it through, because once you see it through, then you may be able to see the big picture, the whole picture of what's really going on. Will people lie to you? Yes, that's a fact. Everybody's not always going to tell you the truth, but everybody's not going to always lie to you either. And that's what I want you to understand. Stop letting your emotions blind you from the real truth. And as it is for me, And my wife, the real truth is this: the more she trusts me, the more I don't want to disappoint her. Is it difficult? Oh, yeah. But the more trust I receive, the more shame I feel like I will feel if I was to betray that trust. But that's me. And I'm probably an exception. Because that still doesn't mean that I can't fall, make mistakes, do things that I shouldn't do, get caught up for whatever reason. We all can. But these emotions, we have to integrate them. We can't try to keep them hidden so that we don't have to be bothered with them. If that's the case and we're not conscious of them, they're running us. We're just not aware of it. And we will never, ever get to the point where we can integrate them and be okay with feeling the anger, with feeling shame, and not be overwhelmed by it. Because we have been being taught by letting those feelings come in and we feel them. As we feel them, they're teaching us to be disciplined with them. At least that's what they are trying to do. Teach us how to deal with ourselves. Not be overran by our emotions. So this is Larry Lou. Elevation is in order. Peace.